The streetlights cast long, eerie shadows across South Shore Drive as Staff Sergeant Philip Benjamin's taxi eased to a stop in front of his red brick, two-story home. It was 2:17 a.m. on a humid July morning, and the neighborhood lay in an almost unnatural silence. After spending 15 grueling months in Afghanistan, Philip's only desire was to surprise his wife, Lucy, and feel her in his arms once more. His return was scheduled for 3 weeks later, but he'd managed to come back early as a special gift for her. Their 10th anniversary was just around the corner. In his duffel bag, beside his combat fatigues and dog tags, lay a delicate white gold necklace, specially ordered from Dubai, a symbol of his love and dedication. The cab driver, an elderly man named Earl, helped him unload his bags. "Welcome home, soldier," Earl said, waving off the tip that Philip tried to offer. "Your family must be real happy to have you back." Philip smiled, picturing Lucy's face when she'd see him. "They don't know I'm coming. Wanted it to be a surprise." Earl gave an understanding nod before getting back in his cab and driving off into the stillness of the night. Standing on the sidewalk, Philip took a moment to soak in the familiarity of his house. Yet, something didn't feel right. Parked right in front was a car he didn't recognize, a sleek, black Chrysler 300 with tinted windows and custom rims. Probably a new ride from one of the neighbors, he reasoned, but a tight knot formed in his stomach. The house was unusually dark except for a faint glow from their bedroom window on the second floor. The porch light, something Lucy always left on at night, was off. As he approached the door, he noticed more unsettling details. The garden, which Lucy always kept pristine, was now overgrown. Empty beer bottles lined the porch railing, a stark contrast to the neatness she usually maintained. With a growing sense of unease, Philip quietly unlocked the front door. As it swung open, an unfamiliar scent hit him, cologne mixed with the pungent odor of marijuana. His gaze landed on the entry table, where their wedding photo now lay face down. Then, he heard it, muffled noises coming from upstairs. Instinct took over. Moving soundlessly, he set down his bags and ascended the staircase with the precision that had kept him alive on countless missions. The sounds grew clearer with each step, rhythmic creaking, heavy breathing, a low, masculine grunt. At the top of the stairs, the master bedroom door was slightly ajar, yellow light spilling out, mingled with the unmistakable sounds of intimacy. A chill crept through Philip's veins, but he stayed composed, his body moving almost automatically. He pushed the door open, and the scene inside seared into his mind like a brutal, unforgiving memory. Tangled sheets, two intertwined bodies. Lucy's legs wrapped around a stranger's waist. The man was muscular, dreadlocks hanging down his back, a tribal tattoo snaking across his shoulder. On the nightstand, their wedding photo seemed to be watching it all. Time froze. Then Lucy screamed. The man jolted, rolling off her and reaching for something on the floor. In the dim light, metal glinted, a gun. Philip's combat instincts kicked in. In Afghanistan, hesitation meant death. In 2 swift steps, he closed the distance, grabbing the man's wrist before the weapon could rise. With his other hand, he delivered a fierce blow to the man's throat, causing the gun to clatter onto the floor. Chaos erupted. Lucy screamed louder. The man gasped for air but swung back ferociously. They struggled, fists connecting, bodies thrashing, rolling on the floor. The gun slid under the bed. Blood splattered across the white walls, painting a grotesque tableau of betrayal and violence. Amid the chaos, Philip's hand found the gun. The man lunged forward, 2 shots rang out, then silence. Lucy Benjamin stood in front of her bathroom mirror, meticulously applying her MAC Ruby Woo lipstick. At 32, she still turned heads wherever she went. Years of consistent gym routines kept her figure toned and tight, and she took pride in looking her best. Today, she'd chosen a fitted red dress that hugged her curves in all the right places. Her phone vibrated on the counter, an incoming text from Job. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby." Philip wasn't expected home for another 3 weeks. Lucy quickly typed back, "All clear. Come by after 9." She stared at her reflection, trying to suppress the guilt gnawing at her stomach. She and Philip had been high school sweethearts, married right after graduation. He joined the army to secure a better future for them, and Lucy had been supportive, standing by his decision. But as the deployments grew longer and the distance wider, loneliness began to seep into her life. That's when Job Williams appeared, 6 months ago at the hair salon where Lucy worked. He was the opposite of Philip, spontaneous, daring, always present. What started as harmless flirtation turned into after-work drinks, then secret meetings, and finally, something far more complicated, something she couldn't control. Her phone buzzed again, this time a FaceTime call from Philip. She took a deep breath before answering. "Hey, baby," Philip greeted, his face grainy and pixelated through the poor connection. He looked exhausted, his uniform still dusty from the Afghan desert. "Hey," Lucy replied, forcing a smile. "How are you? Missing you like crazy. 3 more weeks feels like forever. But hey, our anniversary's coming up. Got something special planned. Can't wait," she lied, the guilt knotting tighter. They talked briefly about mundane things. Work at the salon, the weather, Lucy making sure not to mention Job, who become a regular customer just to see her. "I love you," Philip said before hanging up. "Stay safe." "Love you too," she whispered, the words feeling hollow as they left her lips. At the salon that afternoon, her co-worker Shanice noticed Lucy's distracted demeanor. "Girl, you're playing with fire," Shanice warned, expertly mixing hair dye. "Job might be fine as hell, but he's got a record. And Philip? That man loves you for real." Lucy sighed, sorting hair products on the counter. "I know. It just happened. And now, I can't seem to stop." "Can't stop's gonna get somebody killed," Shanice muttered under her breath. "Mark my words." By evening, Lucy had pushed away all thoughts of the consequences. She'd ordered Philip's favorite takeout from Harold's Chicken, letting the delivery guy think it was for her husband. Fresh sheets adorned the bed, scented candles flickered on the nightstands, and 2 glasses of wine sat waiting. At 9:15 p.m., Job's black Chrysler 300 pulled up outside. He walked in confidently, using the spare key Lucy had given him a month prior. Dressed in dark jeans and a fitted black shirt that showcased his muscled arms, he smirked as he saw her. "Damn, baby," he whispered, pulling her into a passionate embrace. "You trying to kill me in that dress?" They barely made it up the stairs before their clothes started coming off. Job had brought weed and more wine. They smoked, drank, made love, talked, and made love again, losing track of time in a haze of lust and fleeting happiness. Around midnight, lying together in the soft glow of the bedside lamp, Job traced patterns on Lucy's bare shoulder. "You ever gonna leave him?" he asked, his voice low. "It's complicated," Lucy replied. "The house is in his name. My whole life's tied to him." "I got money," Job said, his tone almost convincing. "Been doing good with my business." They both knew his business wasn't entirely legal. Lucy kissed him, hoping to silence the conversation. Neither of them heard the taxi pull up outside. Neither noticed the front door creak open. Lost in each other, music playing low on the Bluetooth speaker, they didn't see Philip until it was too late. The bedroom door swung open, and suddenly, everything went to hell. Philip froze for a split second, processing the scene. His wife, barely covered by a sheet, and a stranger beside her. Job reached for the gun he'd left on the nightstand, but Philip moved faster. His military reflexes took over, and 2 shots cracked through the room. Blood pooled on the hardwood floor, seeping between the cracks. Job lay face down, unmoving, 2 bullet wounds puncturing his chest. Lucy, slumped against the wall, held her shoulder, a crimson stain darkening her red dress. One of the bullets had passed through Job and grazed her. Philip stood there, gun still warm in his hand, chest heaving. The soldier in him faded, replaced by a broken man staring at the ruins of his life. He knelt beside Job first, no pulse. Then he moved to Lucy, who was conscious but slipping into shock. Her lips trembled as she whispered his name. "Philip." His hands trembled as he pressed down on her wound. "Why, Lucy? Why?" I'm sorry," she managed, tears mixing with the blood. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called them. Philip didn't move, couldn't move, his world shattered in a single, irreversible moment. As the flashing lights painted the walls in red and blue, Philip knelt on the floor, his mind numb, reality blurring. He'd survived combat, faced death countless times. But nothing had prepared him for this, a battlefield of betrayal and loss, right in his own home. "I'm so sorry," Philip whispered, his voice trembling. His combat medic training kicked in, and without wasting a second, he grabbed towels from the bathroom, pressing them firmly against Lucy's wound. "Don't talk," he instructed, his tone firm but soft. "Help is coming." But he hadn't called anyone yet. His phone was still tucked away in his duffel bag downstairs. The gunshots had likely echoed through the neighborhood. In this part of Chicago, though, people had learned to mind their own business when they heard gunfire. Maybe someone had called 911, or maybe not. As if on cue, the wail of police sirens pierced the night, drawing closer. Relief washed over Philip, but his body remained tense. "I didn't mean," Lucy tried to speak, but he cut her off. "Shut up," he whispered, almost pleading. "Just shut up." The siren screeched to a halt outside. Car doors slammed, and flashlight beams swept across the windows. "Chicago police. Open up." Philip set the gun down carefully on the floor and moved downstairs, hands raised high. When he opened the front door, four officers stood there, weapons drawn. "Don't move. Hands where we can see them," one of them shouted. "I'm Staff Sergeant Philip Benjamin," he replied calmly. "I'm the homeowner. There are 2 people injured upstairs, 1 DOA. My wife needs medical attention." They cuffed him without hesitation, standard procedure. As they led him to a squad car, curious neighbors began to emerge from their homes, phones raised, capturing the scene. Mrs. Jenkins from next door stood on her porch, wrapped in a nightgown, shaking her head. "That poor boy," she muttered, "fought for his country just to come home to this mess." The hours that followed blurred together. At the police station, a middle-aged detective named Williams sat across from Philip. His voice was calm but direct. No relation to Job Williams, he clarified when introducing himself. "Walk me through it again." A recording device sat on the table between them. Philip recounted the events clearly. The early return home, the strange car parked outside, the sound from upstairs, the gun under the bed, and how everything had happened so fast. His court-appointed lawyer, Patricia Morris, remained by his side, insisting that it was a case of self-defense. "The deceased had a weapon and a criminal record," she argued. "My client is a decorated combat veteran who found armed intruders in his home." "One intruder," Detective Williams corrected. "The other victim was his wife, who was participating in a home invasion by letting her lover in." Morris pushed back. The shooting was justified. At Chicago Med, Lucy underwent surgery to remove the bullet lodged in her shoulder. Her parents arrived, her mother sobbing, her father stony-faced. They had never approved of Philip, always believing their daughter could do better than a soldier. Now, they sat in a hospital waiting room, carefully avoiding the news crews gathering outside. By morning, the story had spread like wildfire. Soldier catches wife with lover, deadly shooting on South Side. Social media buzzed with opinions. He served his country while she served everybody else. Hashtag Team Philip. 2 people shot over cheating? He needs to be jailed. This is why you don't mess with military men's wives. In his holding cell, none of the media frenzy reached Philip. He remained motionless, staring at the cold, gray wall, his mind replaying the chaotic bedroom scene over and over. Where had his life gone off track? Was it during his last deployment? Earlier? Had the signs always been there, just ignored? Back at Area Central, Detective Williams sat at his cluttered desk, reviewing the crime scene photos. At first glance, it appeared to be a classic crime of passion. Yet, something didn't sit right. Picking up Job Williams' rap sheet, he noted the man's history: drug possession, assault, suspected gang ties to the vice lords, but nothing on record for the past 5 years. Recently, Job had been running a seemingly legitimate chain of car washes. The gun recovered at the scene was legally registered to him. Officer Thompson approached, breaking Williams' concentration. "You need to see this." She handed over a transcript of Lucy Benjamin's phone records. Hundreds of text messages between Lucy and Job, dating back 8 months. But there was more. Messages sent to a burner phone discussing life insurance policies and deployment schedules. There's more, Thompson said, hesitating before continuing. These messages talk about making sure Philip wouldn't come back alive. William's gut tightened. What seemed like a spontaneous crime of passion was beginning to look premeditated. As he pieced together the clues, a chilling possibility emerged. A calculated betrayal wrapped in a web of lies and deceit. Williams glanced at the holding cell through the observation window. Philip sat inside, still as a statue, eyes hollow. The detective knew one thing for sure. This case was far from over. Remember that break-in attempt at the Benjamin house 4 months ago? Thompson asked, looking thoughtfully at the case file. Nothing was stolen, and the investigation went cold. It happened right after Sergeant Benjamin increased his SGLI to $1 million. Williams leaned back, connecting the dots. You're thinking this wasn't just an affair. Maybe they were planning something bigger, waiting for him to deploy again. At Chicago Med, Lucy Benjamin was recovering from surgery, her left arm immobilized. 2 uniformed officers stood guard outside her hospital room. Detective Williams found her parents in the waiting area, Calvin and Regina Morrison, both retired Chicago public school teachers. Mrs. Morrison looked up as Williams approached. Mrs. Benjamin, he greeted, stepping into the room. We need to talk. Lucy looked small and fragile in the hospital bed, her complexion pale. I already told the other officers what happened, she mumbled. You told them about the affair, sure, Williams replied, his tone firm. But let's discuss the insurance policy and those texts about your husband's deployment schedule. The color drained from Lucy's face. Meanwhile, at Cook County Jail, Philip received his first visitor, his younger brother, Michael Benjamin, a Chicago Transit Authority driver. Sitting across the thick visiting room glass, Michael looked at Philip with a mix of frustration and concern. What the hell, man? Michael said, his voice tinged with disbelief. I had to hear about this on the news. Philip didn't look up. How's Mama taking it, he asked. Michael sighed. How you think? She's at church right now, praying. Pastors organizing support for your defense. Tell her not to bother, Philip muttered, eyes distant. I did what I did. Michael leaned closer, his tone softer. Listen, bro, people out here are supporting you. Even Lucy's friend from the salon are saying she did you dirty. Your army buddies have started a legal defense fund. This ain't over. But Philip barely seemed to hear him. You know what's crazy? He whispered. When I was in Afghanistan, every night I dreamed of coming home to her. Even when mortars were falling, knowing she was here kept me going. Now, I wish I'd never come back. Back at Area Central, Detective Williams was piecing together a different story. Bank records revealed large cash deposits into Lucy's personal account. Jobs phone, now retrieved and analyzed, showed deleted messages hinting at a plan to take care of the soldier problem. They were planning to kill him, Williams concluded, rubbing his temples. Probably during his next deployment. Make it look like a combat death or an accident. The affair got messy, but the real motive was the insurance money. So what now? Thompson asked. Benjamin killed one person, Williams clarified. Lucy's alive. Once she's stable, we're charging her with conspiracy to commit murder. The news hit Chicago's South Side like a shockwave. At Super Clean Car Wash, Jobs' main business, workers gathered to mourn their boss. Most hadn't known about his affair with Lucy, let alone a possible murder plot. At Sharp Cut Salon, where Lucy worked, opinions were split. Some colleagues defended her, blaming Philip's long absences. Others, like Shanice, felt deeply betrayed. She sat right there, Shanice told reporters, pointing to Lucy's empty styling station, talking about how much she missed Philip, how proud she was of him serving. Meanwhile, she's plotting with her side, due to kill him. That's cold. Social media quickly turned from sympathy to outrage. Wife and soldier love triangle turns deadly, insurance scam revealed. War hero thwarts own murder by coming home early. Southside shooting exposes deadly plot. The summer heat wave gripped Chicago as more details surfaced. At CPD headquarters, Detective Williams stood before a room of reporters, calmly laying out the unfolding conspiracy. What initially appeared to be a tragic domestic incident is now part of a larger criminal scheme, he explained. Evidence indicates that Mrs. Benjamin and Mr. Williams were planning the death of Sergeant Benjamin for financial gain. He detailed the findings. Security footage from the car wash showing Lucy in job meeting late at night, bank records revealing wire transfers to offshore accounts, and a laptop found in Job's car containing research on untraceable poisons and combat zone accidents that could look natural. At Chicago Med, Lucy finally broke down under questioning. Tears streaming down her face, she whispered to Detective Williams, "Wasn't supposed to be like this. Job said would be clean, quick." Williams remained impassive. "And what did you plan to do after?" he asked. She sobbed, unable to answer. The reality of her betrayal and the ruined lives sank in. As Williams left the hospital, he couldn't help but think of Philip, caught between duty and devastation, loyalty and betrayal. The case was closing, but the aftermath was just beginning. The headlines would continue. The public debates would rage on. But for those directly involved, the consequences would echo far beyond any courtroom. "Philip wouldn't suffer," Lucy whispered, her voice cracking. "The insurance money would set us up for life." "So, you were planning to have your husband killed for money?" Detective Williams asked, his voice steady, recording every word of her confession. "You don't understand," Lucy protested. "Those deployments, they changed him. He'd wake up screaming, having flashbacks. Sometimes he didn't even recognize me. I was scared of him. Job promised to protect me." But her story didn't line up with the evidence. Philip's Army records showed no signs of violent incidents or trauma. His psychological evaluations were clean, and neighbors described him as quiet and respectful. At Sharp Cut Salon, Shanice offered a different perspective. "Lucy changed after she met Job," she told investigators. "She started wearing expensive clothes, talking about needing more excitement. One time, I overheard them arguing about timing. She wanted to wait, but he kept pushing for something to happen sooner." The investigation soon revealed that more people were involved. Job's cousin, who worked at an insurance company, had helped expedite Philip's policy changes. Another player, a former cellmate of Job's, was arrested while attempting to buy untraceable weapons as part of the plan. Meanwhile, Philip remained mostly silent in jail. His attorney, Patricia Morris, built a robust self-defense case. "My client, a decorated combat veteran, returned home to find armed intruders," Morris reiterated to the media. "He acted to protect himself in his own home. The fact that these intruders were plotting his murder only strengthens our case." The community rallied behind Philip. Local veterans groups organized protests outside the courthouse, demanding justice. His church collected donations to support his defense. Even Lucy's parents, upon learning about the murder plot, publicly expressed their support for Philip. "We failed to see what our daughter had become," Calvin Morrison told reporters outside the hospital. Philip served his country with honor, while she betrayed everything: her vows, her family, basic human decency. Then the case took a shocking turn. Investigators discovered videos on Job's phone, secret recordings of conversations with Lucy. It appeared Job had recorded them as insurance, just in case things went wrong. One video, filmed in their bedroom 2 months earlier, revealed them discussing methods to make Philip's death look natural. "It has to look like a combat zone accident," Lucy whispered on the recording. "Anything could happen over there," Job replied. "My contact says he can make it look like friendly fire. Costs extra, but it's untraceable." Lucy's voice trembled with desperation. "Whatever it takes. I can't spend another year pretending to be the proud military wife." The evidence was devastating. The state's attorney's office charged Lucy with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation of murder, and insurance fraud. Several of Job's associates also faced related charges. Philip's case moved toward a swift resolution. Given the circumstances and the overwhelming evidence of the murder plot, prosecutors agreed to reduce the charges to voluntary manslaughter. The death of Job Williams, while tragic, occurred during the commission of a felony in which he was a willing participant, the state's attorney announced. Mr. Benjamin's actions, while extreme, were influenced by a reasonable fear for his life. The atmosphere at the Cook County Criminal Courthouse was thick with tension as Lucy Benjamin's preliminary hearing began. She appeared in a wheelchair, her left arm in a sling, wearing county-issued beige scrubs, a stark contrast to her usual stylish attire. Philip sat in the gallery, flanked by his brother Michael and their mother, Gloria Benjamin, a retired postal worker who hadn't missed a single day of court since his arrest. Philip, now released on electronic monitoring, kept his eyes forward, expression unreadable. Assistant State's Attorney Karen Martinez addressed the court, laying out the prosecution's case. Your Honor, the evidence will show that the defendant, along with her deceased co-conspirator, engaged in a calculated plot to murder her husband for financial gain, Martinez stated. This wasn't just a simple affair gone wrong. It was a premeditated conspiracy to kill a United States soldier. The weight of the evidence was undeniable. Investigators had recovered deleted emails and texts discussing various murder scenarios. One particularly damning message from Lucy to job read, "Next deployment is in September. That's our window." The courtroom fell silent as the message was displayed on the screen. The reality of Lucy's betrayal hung heavy in the air. Philip remained stoic, absorbing the shocking revelations. His hands gripped the bench as he listened to the chilling details of a plot that nearly cost him his life. For now, the truth was emerging, but the scars of betrayal were far from healing. The public narrative had shifted dramatically, from sympathy for a grieving wife to outrage at a calculated conspiracy. As the legal battle continued, one thing was certain: Philip's fight for justice had only just begun. After that, we'll be set for life. Financial records revealed that Lucy had already begun spending Philip's combat pay on gifts for job, including the custom rims on his Chrysler. She had also taken out additional credit cards in Philip's name while he was deployed. Detective Williams testified, detailing the sophisticated and calculated nature of the plot. They had multiple plans, Williams explained. Plan A was to stage an accident during deployment. Plan B involved hiring contractors in Afghanistan. They even considered making it look like Taliban activity. During cross-examination, Lucy's public defender attempted to portray her as a victim of jobs manipulation. However, the recorded conversations painted a different picture. In one video, Lucy was the one pushing for action. "We need to stop talking and make this happen," she demanded. "I'm tired of playing wife every time he FaceTimes, tired of listening to him talk about our future when I want a future with you." The most gut-wrenching testimony came from Shanice, Lucy's former friend from the salon. "She changed completely after meeting Job," Shanice recounted. "Started taking long lunches with him, coming back with expensive gifts. One time, she even joked about Philip sending her extra money for their anniversary, said he was basically funding their dates." During a break in the proceedings, Gloria Benjamin leaned over to her son. "Baby, I know this hurts, but God got you through war for a reason. He brought you home early for a reason." Philip just nodded, his face unreadable. The only time his composure faltered was when they played the surveillance footage from his house, the cameras he had installed himself to protect Lucy while he was away. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The footage showed Lucy and Job entering the house on multiple occasions over several months, often staying overnight. Even more damning were their conversations on the back porch, caught on camera as they smoked weed and casually discussed murder. "It's too risky here," Lucy whispered. "It has to be overseas." "My guy says Afghanistan's perfect," Job replied. "Things go wrong there all the time." "Just make sure it's after the policy kicks in," Lucy added. "And make it clean. He deserves that much at least." As the footage played, Lucy broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, forcing the judge to call a recess. Her parents, sitting far from Philip's family, quietly left the courtroom in tears. The preliminary hearing concluded with the judge ordering Lucy to be held without bail, citing the severity of the charges and describing the evidence as disturbing and substantial. Meanwhile, Philip's case moved toward resolution. Given the circumstances, prosecutors offered a plea deal: plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter, receive probation with no additional jail time. His attorney, Patricia Morris, advised him to accept. "If I take it, I'm admitting I did something wrong," Philip argued. "Did I? A man comes into my house with a gun, plotting to kill me, and I'm supposed to apologize?" The plea hearing took place on a rainy Tuesday morning. The courtroom was packed, veterans in uniform, church members, family, media, and even some of Lucy's former salon clients came to support Philip. Judge Miranda Chin addressed him directly. "Sergeant Benjamin, before accepting your plea, I want to ensure you fully understand its terms. While the court acknowledges the extraordinary circumstances of this case, taking a life remains a serious matter." Philip stood tall, his military discipline evident. "Yes, Your Honor, I understand." The plea agreement was read into the record. Involuntary manslaughter, 5 years probation, mandatory counseling, and no contact with Lucy Benjamin or Job Williams's family. Before finalizing the agreement, Judge Shun made an unusual statement. The court notes that while the defendant's actions resulted in death, they occurred in response to what evidence shows was an ongoing criminal conspiracy against his life. His service to this country, his clean record, and the unique circumstances warrant a measured approach. A murmur spread through the courtroom. The judge's acknowledgement of Philip's situation felt like a small victory amid the chaos. When the hearing concluded, Philip exited the courthouse, greeted by supporters who offered pats on the back and words of encouragement. Gloria Benjamin wrapped her arms around him, whispering, "We'll get through this, one day at a time." Philip glanced back at the building, his expression a mixture of relief and sadness. The legal battle was ending, but the emotional fallout was far from over. He had survived war, betrayal, and heartbreak. Now, he had to rebuild his life from the ruins of his broken home. The headlines quickly spread. "Soldier accepts plea deal amid murder plot revelation." Social media buzzed with debates, some calling it justice, others questioning the decision. But for Philip, it didn't matter. The war inside him still raged, and moving forward would be the hardest mission of all. Philip was fingerprinted one final time and released. As he stepped outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed him, shouting questions. "Sergeant Benjamin, do you regret coming home early? Any words for your wife? Will you return to active duty?" Ignoring them all, Philip walked to his mother's car, his family forming a protective circle around him. He kept his gaze forward, his expression unreadable. 2 weeks later, Lucy's trial began. Despite her attorney's advice, she had rejected every plea offer. The evidence against her mounted daily. Text messages showing her coaching job on Philip's military schedule, recordings of calls to offshore banks discussing moving money, and testimony from Job's cousin about faking insurance documents. Surveillance footage even captured Lucy in Job meeting with a known hitman. The prosecution's closing argument hit hard. "Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just about infidelity or a failed marriage. This is about greed. While Sergeant Benjamin risked his life serving our country, his wife plotted his death. She watched him go to war, but planned to make sure he never came home." The jury deliberated for just 4 hours before returning with a verdict, guilty on all counts. Presiding over the case, Judge Shun showed no leniency during sentencing. "Mrs. Benjamin, you not only betrayed your marriage vows, but also basic human decency. You plotted to murder a man who served his country honorably, who trusted you and provided for you. The court sentences you to 25 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections." Lucy's sobs echoed through the courtroom as she was led away. Her parents left without speaking to anyone. The aftermath rippled through Chicago's South Side. Sharp Cut salon temporarily closed before reopening under new management. Shanice, once Lucy's friend, started her own salon, naming it Loyalty First. Job's car wash business was sold off to pay legal settlements, with most proceeds going to his children from a previous relationship. Philip resigned from the Army, accepting a medical discharge with full benefits. He began attending counseling at the VA, gradually opening up about trauma and betrayal. Eventually, he started speaking to veterans groups, sharing his story of resilience and healing. The house where it all happened sold quickly, well below market value. The new owners gutted the master bedroom, replacing the bloodstained floors, hoping to erase the memory of violence. 1 year later, Philip sat alone in his new apartment, staring at the divorce papers in front of him. His hand hovered over the signature line as memories rushed back. High school prom, their wedding day, the countless homecomings and farewells. He took a deep breath, picked up the pen, and signed his name. His phone buzzed, a message from his VA counselor. Group meets at 7. You coming? Philip glanced at the signed papers, then at the window where the city stretched out, vibrant and unyielding. He stood up, grabbed his jacket, and headed out. Outside, Chicago continued its endless cycle of renewal, new buildings rising as old ones fell. People loved, betrayed, healed, and moved on. Yet, in certain quiet moments, in the spaces between heartbeats, the echoes remained. Gunshots on a summer night, trust shattered like glass, a soldier who came home too early, and a wife who plotted too late.